Hey kids, Inverted Cow here. Welcome back to Long Dark. This is going to be a thing of suggestions and of recommendations, things that I would like to see or would suggest to see added to the game, just to kind of add a little extra flavor more than anything. Okay. The first is going to be based on deer carcasses. Well, not necessarily deer carcasses, but carcasses and hunting in general. When you harvest a carcass, like if yeah, okay, that's fine. When you harvest a carcass in the field, normally you would just simply drag it up a tree, gut it, let all the guts pour on the ground, and throw them into a fire and burn them off and that kind of stuff, or throw them into a gut pile somewhere and let the wolves out them after you leave. But then you would take the part of the carcass that you want, which is namely the meat, the flesh, and if you're hunting for trophy, also your antlers and such, and haul it back to someplace good where you could actually have actually do something with it. So I would suggest one thing that they add is a field dressing gambrel, which would basically be something you tack to a tree, and it's just basically it's a pulley with some rope. You tack it to a tree, you tie it to the hind legs, you lift it up, and it would reduce time for harvesting the carcass. The second thing I would like to suggest is a use for the antlers. Those are very fine, good solid bone, sharp. Those points can be very sharp and can be sharpened very easily. You could make knives or like some sort of a knife or splints, which would be part of additional medical supplies and that sort of thing. A few suggestions on that. Something I have lamented about many times is actually being able to build is a sled. This is all snow. The majority of the map is sliding on stuff that is frozen or covered in snow. Why can I not take a couple of nice green saplings, like there's a sapling over there, you know, take a couple of these nice birch saplings and shape them green. They have to be green when you shape them, but shape them into sled runners. Let them dry as sled runners. Tie a deer hide to it, like tie a deer carcass hide to it, and you can slide on the snow with it. The thing is then you could go to a deer carcass, use the gambrel to lift it up, drop it onto a sled, and yeah, you might be carrying a little bit heavier load, but take it to someplace safe, someplace where you're not being attacked and mauled by wolves. That would also be true with large branches like that one over there, like this one here. Rather than chopping them up in the field, you know, you could lift this again using the gambrel. You lift this up, throw it onto a sled, and drag it behind you. And have an actual stockpile of limbs. My third suggestion, well, fourth or whatever I'm at to now, is a field shelter. Like, I'm sorry, I'm in the Canadian wilderness. I have pine trees. These are pine trees or fir trees. In northern BC, these would probably be lodgepole pine. Like, seriously, let me knock off a few lower branches with a hatchet. a few lower branches and a couple of these branches that you pick up on the ground, and I guarantee you I could make a decent lean-to shelter that I could put the bedroll in and have a campfire in front of and sit there and field dress this deer in probably an hour. That I think is something that should be implemented. A tent would be also handy. I mean, you could have it as something you would find as just a random tent. Hi, bear. I'm not worried about wildlife. I'm on pilgrim mode. You could find like deer carcasses and make a pup tent using, yeah, go away, using deer hide, dry deer hide, or you could find like a little pup tent that you could just snap up and boom. Yeah, it's not very weatherproof, but it would keep the wind off your back more than anything. Another suggestion I have is snowshoes. You're walking around in running shoes, work boots, basic boots, or deerskin boots, I believe is so far all the kinds that I have found. You should be able to strap on a pair of snowshoes. Snowshoes should give you a little bit slightly less what do you call it? Slightly less trouble when walking up a hill. It decrease your probability of falling and spraining like a wrist or an ankle or something. And give you some protection when walking across bodies of water. Say, for example, this is a body of water, you're walking across it, and you've got a thin ice spot here. You don't fall through the thin ice when you step on it. Which would fall under environmental hazards. Something I'd also like to see added is a few additional environmental hazards like thin ice, that sort of thing. Now, I have been told that on Coastal Highway there is actually thin ice if you go far enough out onto the waterfront there. So these could be installed, and I just simply haven't encountered one. Another idea is cross-country skis. Don't know if you noticed, but it's not exactly flat. The terrain around here is not flat at all. Wearing cross-country skis, now this could only be a found item. It's not a craftable type item. But wearing cross-country skis, you would have to go slower uphill because cross-country skis don't walk uphill very quickly. You hit a hill like this and you have a bit of trouble climbing. It would actually get very, very slow. But if you turn around and you're going downhill with cross-country skis, your standard walk, even heavily burdened, should be the speed of a full sprint without the head bobbing side to side kind of thing, because that's nauseating. I'm sorry, I've never walked, in all my years, I've never walked with my head bobbing side to side. I realize that's a game function, but it can be kind of frustrating. So that would be a few suggestions for equipment that I'd like to see added. Like I said, additional land hazards would also be nice. An additional idea for shelter, field shelter, is you come to a hillside like this, a snow bank or hillside like this, and there's a snow drift that we're not seeing the drifting very well, but you hit a snow drift and you dig in and make a snow cave. That lets you put down a bed and a fireplace and that kind of thing. It's all good. Now, a game modifier, these stupid little buggers. As you know, the last game I died due to a wolf attack. I mean, it came, it attacked me, it tracked me for goodness knows how many miles to come up a hill to attack me. in the real world, that is how a wolf would behave. If you come up on a wolf, he would guard his meat. I mean, I forget it. That's his kill. You're not getting anywhere near it. But in the real world, if you came up on a wolf, he'd smell you coming long before you see him, and it's gone. Now, I realize in the game, as part of the story mode, wolves and bears and whatnot are behaving as if they're rabid. Deer seem to have lost all fear of man. Like, there was no way you'd get that close upwind, or that close, upwind of a deer. And there's no way that deer would be that close to a bear. You know. So, the animal AI could probably use a little bit of tweaking. Also, have a certain number in mind, like pleasant, or this zone, for example, has, say, 20, 25 wolves total. In total, all of them. That's it. If I kill 25 wolves, there's no more wolves in this zone, or they respawn very, very slowly. Wolves are also a pack animal, by the way. They hunt in packs. And thankfully for that, they haven't implemented any kind of pack behavior, because there's no way that a single person would be able to survive a pack of wolves. No matter how quickly you can reload that one single type of rifle, single shot rifle that they give you. Let's see, what else is there? The searching of corpses, the searching like that. I'm not sure if I like that animation, or if I would just rather have it just open an inventory. Same goes with boxes and chests and stuff. Honestly, when I'm creating a YouTube video, I delete out literally about 5 to 10 minutes of video where it's just progress bars from things like that. Those animations, they can be kind of frustrating after a while. A map would be nice. Having it so that you find a map in-game and then can open the map and utilize the map in-game would be kind of nice. I mean, I have one loaded on the background of the desktop, or on the on a second monitor or something like that. That's all fine and dandy. Okay, I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to get to a cabin, and I'm going to talk about some of the other stuff that I have in mind. All right, we're back. The next thing I want to talk about is problems I have with things inside the cabin. You can pick these up, these nice storm lanterns which self-light, and you can place them down. So the mechanic is already there for having the ability to light and place things. Plus you have the kerosene fuel. The lanterns would actually burn on like a white naphtha gas type fuel. If you've ever been out backpacking, hunting, camping, trapping, doing anything in the bush, there's another thing that burns on this fuel. They're called Coleman lanterns, or Coleman stoves. There's a dozen different names. You can get little ones that just are little single burner dealies, to whole things that are the size of a small barbecue. They burn on the same fuel, exactly the same fuel. So if you find a jerry can of fuel for that, you can light up your Coleman stove or whatever, and drop a Coleman stove down inside the cabin and cook your food right in the cabin. You have a heat source cooking in the cabin. By the way, these things, they do make a lot of heat. If you put one of these down, you can hold a cup of coffee over top of that. Like put a a rack on top of that, put a coffee on it, it'll keep it warm. It'll keep it boiling. So that's 2. Back to hunting and trapping, actually trapping in particular. I don't have any deer meat to show you because I've just loaded the game, and honestly I have no inventory whatsoever. But when you come back here with your fresh deer hide and fresh wolf hide and your gut and whatnot, you throw it on the floor. If you've ever, hold on a second, there we go, had to turn that down. If you have ever dried a hide, the last thing you would do is throw it on a flat surface like a floor and just let it dry, because you'll just end up with this little shriveled up chunk of raw leather that you can't do a thing with. It's tough. You'll never be able to cut it. You'll never be able to shape it. You'll never be able to use it. When you bring a hide back, you stretch it. The first thing you do is stretch it over a board, stretch it in a rack, stretch it on a table, and clean it. You just got to scrape all the gooey guts and bits and stuff off of it. So I would suggest implementing something similar to that, say a drying rack, a stretcher rack, something like that, and hide prep. I mean, you bring that hide back, you've basically just cut it off the animal. It's still covered in fat and goo and all kinds of blood and gore and stuff is still attached to it. You got to have a thing, you stretch it and you clean it, you stretch it and prep it, and then let it dry. I realize that's adding a little bit more to the game, but quite honestly, I think the game needs a little bit more. Just some of these little things that are more realistic. Just to add a little kind of a flavor to it. I think that is pretty much all of the suggestions I have for this game. I really do, to the developers, if you ever actually watch this video, I love this game. I love the realism of it. I love the winter storms that blow in without warning, and there really isn't a lot that I don't like about this game, apart from the fact that the wolf attacks get progressively more insane. I do wonder though why it is that if you play as the female character, you get no corpses. Like this corpse is missing, the one over by the other thing is missing. Your corpse drops are substantially reduced, which also means your potential for loot is substantially reduced if you play as the female. Not sure if that's a game balance thing, if there's a reason for that, or what the story is, but it's not a big deal. I love the fact you can follow your footprints. That's funny. I am anxiously looking forward to seeing story mode come out, and can't wait. Thanks all for watching, kids. Thanks. This has been my opinion on The Long Dark. I love this game. It is well worth the money I spent on it. I'd love to see some of those kind of improvements added to the game. And I'm pretty sure there's a few more that a Zippo lighter. That was the other one I was going to suggest. You pick up lighter fluid. A Zippo would be great. Like a lighter that you refill with this fluid gets like 100 uses and it's expired, you have to refill it. You know, that would be pretty handy as well. Just a suggestion. So there's my ideas and suggestions for this game. Thanks for watching, everybody. And I'll see you all next time. Good night for now.